Good morning, everybody. Yesterday in our video, we talked about when two chords intersect inside a circle, or if a secant and a tangent intersect on a circle, and what kind of angles they make. Today, we're going to talk about what happens if we have a secants and or tangents intersect on the exterior of a circle. So we're going to talk about when two secants intersect, a secant and a tangent intersect, and if two tangents intersect. So if secants and or tangents intersect on the exterior of a circle, then the measure of the angle formed is equal to half the difference of the intercepted arcs. So when we take a look here at the first one here, we have two secants here. So the measure of angle A will be 1/2 the measure of arc CE minus the measure of arc BD. Okay, now the big difference between yesterday and today. Yesterday we were adding our arcs and taking half. Today we are subtracting our arcs and taking half. Now when a secant and a tangent intersect, the measure of angle A be 1/2 the measure of arc BD, or subtract the measure of arc BC. Same thing here with the last one, and two tangents intersect. So it's going to be 1/2 the measure of arc BDC minus the measure of arc BC. Okay, and it really is that simple. So we're going to take our two arcs and subtract them, and then take half of it. So it is as simple as that. Now if we take a look at number 11 here, okay, we're going to look for the measure of arc or angle KLM, which is right here. So the measure of angle KLM will be 1/2 the measure of the big arc minus the measure of the small arc. So if I'm going to take my calculator there, we're going to turn it on. We're going to go 140 minus 66. Press enter, divide that by 2. The measure angle will be 1/2 of 74, which is 37 degrees. Okay, hopefully you guys found that simple enough. We're going to go on to some other types of problems on that. Okay, so if we take a look at number 13, okay, take a look at number 13. We're looking for this arc right here, from here to here. So we know the angle is going to be 1/2 the measure of the big arc, we'll call that x, minus the measure of the small arc. Okay. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the 1/2. So 80 will equal x minus 75. We're going to add 75 to both sides. If I bring this over here, 80 plus 75 is 155. So the measure of SW will be 155 degrees. Okay. Now if we take a look at number 15, we're looking for the measure of the angle again. Okay. So this one will be 1/2. The angle measure will be 1/2 135 minus 33. 135 minus 33 be 102. Divide that by 2, we'll get 51. That'll be the measure of angle KLM. Now we take a look at number 17. 17 is just a little bit different, but it shouldn't be too bad. We're looking for this measure of arc right here. However, we don't have a formula for that, so what we're going to have to find, we're going to have to find the measure of this arc right here, because we already know the 191. So if I call this x, and I can subtract those from 360, we'll get our number. Okay, so the measure of the angle is going to be 1/2 the measure of the big arc, minus the measure of the small arc. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the fraction. 77 times 2 is 154. And that will equal 191 minus x. Now, if we're going to do some quick math here, I'm going to make this x. I'm going to move it over here and make it positive. I'm going to move this over here and subtract 154. So x will equal 191 minus 154, or 37 degrees. So this arc is 37 degrees. Now, to find the measure of arc EF, I know there's 360 degrees in a circle, so I'm going to take 360 minus 191 minus 37. I'll get 132. And again, if I'm going too quick for you, that's okay. You can pause the video and go on from there. Now, take a look at number 19. We're looking for the measure of this angle, PQR. Now, I know this is 313. I don't know this angle here. However, I do know that there's 360 degrees in a circle. So if I take 360 minus 313, I know this arc measure here will be 47 degrees. So the measure of the angle will be 1/2 of 313 minus 47. 313 minus 47 is 266. I'm going to divide that by 2. I'll get 133 degrees. So the measure of angle PQR equals 133. Now, if you notice, none of these problems so far have really had any algebra with it, and that's going to be our next step. We got quite a few minutes here, so that should be plenty of time. So we're going to move here. We're going to move on to number 1. Now, if you're one of my students, again, you have these note sheets available to you. I suggest printing them off to make it easy for you. So you have all this work right in front of you. Now, this is a problem from yesterday's video. I know this angle, 3x plus 23, is going to be half the sum of those. So I know that the angle measure is going to be 1/2 the sum of 75 plus 55. 75 plus 55 is 130. I'm going to divide that by 2, so it's going to be 65. So 3x plus 23 equals 65. I'm going to do a little bit of math here. I'm going to subtract 23 by bringing it over here. So 65 minus 23 is 42. 42 divided by 3 is 14. That's how you'd solve that one there. Now, number 3, again, this is a problem from yesterday's video. We know this angle is like an inscribed angle, so we know it's going to be half the measure of the intercepted arc. So I know that 6x minus 38 will be 1/2 of 140. Hopefully we don't need a calculator on this. We could figure out half of 140 is 70. I'm going to bring the 38 over here. 70 plus 38 will be 108. I'm going to divide 108 by 6, and I'll get 18. And there's our answer. Now, number 5 is like a problem that we worked on today. Number 5 is going to look like this. The measure of the angle is 1/2 the difference of the arcs. So 7x minus 1 will be 1/2 of 161 minus 65. 161 minus 65 is 96. Divide that by 2, you'll get 48. So 7x minus 1 is equal to 48. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. I'm going to bring this over here. And we should all know our facts by now. X will be equal to 7. Now, when we get into a problem like number 7, this is where we got to be a little bit careful. We have to mark our arcs the correct measure. I know measure of arc CB is 5x plus 41. I know the measure of arc AD is 7x minus 19. I know the measure of angle AED, so this angle in here, is 89 degrees. I have to find the measure of arc AD. So it's not enough just to find x. I have to find the measure of arc AD. So I know that the angle measure is half the sum. So 89 is 1/2 7x minus 19 plus, whoops, that's a minus sign, should be a minus sign there, 5x plus 41. Well, I'm going to do some math here. 7x and 5x is 12x. 41 minus 19 is 22, so it'll be plus 22. Now, I could multiply both sides by 2. I could take 1/2 into the 12x and 22 because they're both even numbers. I'll show you both ways real quick. I'm going to if I multiply both sides by 2, I get 178 equals 12x plus 22. There is no wrong. There is a wrong way, but either of these two ways would work. 178 minus 22 would be 156. Divide that by 12. I would get 13. If x is 13, 7 times 13 minus 19. This arc up here, measure of arc AD, is 72 degrees. Okay. Now, if I would take half, 89 would equal 6x plus 11. I would bring this 11 over here. 78 would equal 6x. X would still equal 13 regardless of the way you did it. You just have to be careful with your math. Again, this is just basic algebra. Okay? Let's do one more here, because that's really all I have time with, and I want to get you guys going on this. If we take a look at number 12, okay, take a look at number 12. We know the measure of arc DA is 23x minus 14. The measure of arc DB is 9x minus 4. And angle DCB, which is this angle in here, would be 5x plus 11. I need to find the measure of the big arc. So I know the angle measure is me 1/2 the big arc minus the small arc. Now again, I use the double parentheses there because we do have to be careful with the minus sign in front of the parentheses. So 5x plus 11 would equal 1/2. We'd have 23x minus 14 minus 9x plus 4. Okay, so that's where we have to be careful. Okay. So doing some quick math, because that's really all we have till we have less than 2 minutes. We got to get going here. 23x minus 9x is 14x. Minus 14 plus 4 is a minus 10. I'm going to do the math that we did on the previous problem. I'm going to take the 1/2 in there to make it a little bit easier. 1/2 of 14x, I'm going to distribute this in, is 7x. 1/2 of negative 10 is negative 5. Now there are more x's on the right side, so I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to move this 5 over here. So 11 plus 5 is 16. 7x minus 5x is 2x. Divide that by 2. X will be 8. Now if x is 8, dA, I'm going to take 23 times 8 minus 14. The measure of arc dA will equal 170 degrees. Now again, if you have questions on it, I understand. I went through it kind of quick. Please make sure you have all your work shown. I want to see your work. I want to see your thinking. I hope you have a great day, and we'll come back tomorrow.